Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. We've got a new video for you today, and this one, I don't actually honestly know how long it's going to be. I've got a lot of different questions that I get on a regular basis about doing my standard background. And I've done videos in the past, but I don't think they really explain everything that's going on. And I'm going to try and do this one to where I get down into the details, and Vicky's obviously much better with the camera than the last one that we did where we were filming. Dad was doing the camera work and it was kind of jumpy and all that. But I did a video a few months ago in October. Let's see, it is Facebook Live 10/1/2020. And that one, I wasn't doing a demo, but I talked a lot about the aspects of my standard background. Now, again, this is just me. This is my standard background. A lot of you guys would rather have the flat background. That's fine. So this video wouldn't be for you. But if you want to know what I do for my standard background, there's a lot of little nuances and stuff, and I'm going to try and hit all of those. I'm going to try. So before we get into the background, the first thing that you got to remember, whether you're carving artwork or whether you're carving lettering. Now, we're talking mostly here about outset letters, but the same rules would apply if they were big inset letters. So we're going to be using the 90-degree V-groove when we get to the background part. But even before that, you got to remember to have enough room. If you don't have enough room around what you're trying to do the background around, then you're going to run into problems. So that's what we're going to do first. So I've got a couple different size letterings going on here. We've got 1-inch outset letters, and we've got this is a 2-inch outset letter. This is because these are smaller letters, I can't, and okay, let me back up. For those of you that are brand new, all of our router bits are made on a V, except for the spiral upcut. That one is straight. Yeah, all the carving bits really are made for in a V. Some of them are narrower. This is a very narrow one. This is the profile bit. So the deeper we go, the wider the line goes. If you watch some of my videos from way back when, long before I ever talked about depths, I talked about width of the line. So what I try to do on outset letters, I just try and go as deep as I can for as wide a line as I want. This just happens to be, let me measure it, I think it's about 3/16. It is. It's basically 3/16 deep. And I can't go deeper than that at this point and carve that detail. Otherwise, it would I would lose a lot of my detail. Now, in contrast to this one over here, this one, because it's a 2-inch letter, there's a lot more room around it. I believe it is about 1/4 of an inch, or it's actually just slightly above 1/4 of an inch deep. This is just kind of like a feeler gauge, depth gauge, calipers kind of thing. Anyway, so I'm using that just to, the other way that I measure the depth is before I start carving, I have my router bit depth gauge. So in regards to doing background around these letters, I would not want to do background around these letters the way they are right now, because the line isn't wide enough. If I tried to take my 90-degree bit and go in there and get those tight spots and do my standard background, chances are I'm going to run into those letters. So what I generally do is I set my router bit. Let me see if I can do this here. I'm going to set my router bit at about 1/4 of an inch, and that's generally, I generally don't go much over 1/4 of an inch. I don't know, is that going to show? I don't have my...
Hard to tell on this little screen, but I
yeah,
think so.
That's about 1/4 of an inch, something like that. And what that's going to do is I'm going to go around those letters, not in the same groove, but around the outside of them, so that they so that it gives me kind of a what I call a buffer zone, or a little extra room for error when I'm getting ready to go in there with the 90-degree bit. So I'm just going to do that real quick. It won't take long, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm just going to go ahead and do it upside down so you guys can see. Showing up okay? Yeah? Is it showing up okay? So now, you can see that I didn't go in that same line that I originally cut. I kept to the outside of that, but I wanted to try and get, like right there, I left a little bit of a high spot there. I wanted to get all of that stuff that was close to the letters away from there. So now when I go back with my 90-degree bit, I won't have to get near as close. Now, on this one over here, I think I'm okay. I've got a wide enough line that I don't really need to cut a wider line. However, you can certainly do that if you want to go a little bit deeper, or even just the same depth and cut that line a little bit wider. If you feel more comfortable with that, you can certainly do that. Now, most of the stuff that I do is a black background, so it really doesn't matter whether there's a second line around there. It's not really going to show that much. In fact, I have done it where I would use the 90-degree bit and cut a wider groove around there with a 90-degree bit, and then go back and start my background outside of that. So I made some notes here. I want to make sure that that I get all of these little kind of details and nuances in here. So I almost always do my background, my standard background, with a 90-degree bit. If it was a really tight area and I'm carving small artwork, then I could use the 60-degree bit, which doesn't cut near as wide. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 90-degree bit set up, and then we're going to come back and we'll do some background. Alright guys, so we're going to get into this in a second, but there's something I forgot to say on the last scene. If you guys go back and watch a lot of my early videos, you will see that I recommend using the larger routers. This is a full-size router. This is a Porter Cable 690LR. That I suggest using these and not the palm routers for doing background. Well, that was when I was first learning about these palm routers. In fact, the only one I had was a 611, a DeWalt 611, which is my favorite. And I was under the, I don't know, I just had a feeling that that doing the background would be too much work for these little routers, but I was totally wrong. It's not. So I just wanted to make that clear, and that shows you guys, you know, I've been doing these videos 10, 11, 12, 13 years, I don't know, can't even keep track. And you know, things change. I evolve. I find out new things. So again, you're perfectly fine with using these little palm routers for this background. The only one that may be the exception to that is the Drill Master, which is like 2.5 amps. The little $25 Drill Master router, trim router. I don't think I would do background with that. However, it may still do it. I don't use that router very much. But anyway, so I just wanted to go over that because that is something that I get questions on quite frequently as well. So, again, my general rule is I don't go deeper than 1/4 of an inch. Let me see what I've got this set at. I think I've got it set at about 1/4. Yep, I do have it set right about 1/4 of an inch. So that's as deep as I generally go, unless it's something really weird. That's as deep as I go with my 90-degree bit. So let me kind of go over. I'll go ahead and do some background here, and then we'll stop and talk about it a little bit, so you guys can kind of understand what my thinking is. Here we go. So I just wanted to stop there for a second. Let me get some sawdust off here. Oops. Forgot to open the valve. Hang on. Thank you, babe. Okay, so you can see, and now what I did here is I made my cloud a little bit bigger than I normally do, just for demonstration purposes. Although this looks good, I like to have some background all the way around the letters, but you know, you can get closer. The more you get used to it, you can get closer to the letters if you want. But if you go back and look, when I did this, you can see that I just literally made just little circular motion. So what I am trying to do is I'm trying to, as I go through the board, I'm trying to make sure that I don't have any high spots. But what you don't want to do, well, let me just do this area here, and I'll show you what I don't do. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly acceptable, but that's just not what I prefer. So what I did there is I made my circles, or my circular motion, so small that it took out most of the wood there. Again, you know, you guys have to find what works for you and what you like. I like more of this, so I make smaller motions so that I don't have any high spots, but I don't make them so small that it really is very, very tiny texture down in the background. So it's kind of, you know, you have to kind of judge it. Now I'll make try and make them bigger if I can. I don't know, bigger to where it's going to leave high spots. That's really hard to do, especially when this is a piece of redwood and it's kind of chippy. That would have been a high spot, but it chipped off. So it's kind of difficult to do. But I hear a lot from people that after they sand, they end up with a lot of high spots. So that means you're either you're not going deep enough, which is probably the issue, or you're sanding too much off when you're sanding off your black or your color. Or it may be a combination of both. But when you're doing this background, you just want to make the circles, again, this is my version, make the circle small enough that now when you get into a place like this, there's not a lot of room to make circular motions. So generally I'll do my version of kind of the dimple effect. So that is, what do I do with my brush? Oh, there it is. That is basically the way I do my standard background around smaller letters. Now we have, these are 1-inch Bookman, but we make, you know, 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. So then you would have to be even more careful and precise to not nick your letters with your background bit. So again, I'll go ahead and move over to the 2-inch, and I'm sure, you know, let me see my notes if I've yeah, I think I've hit all of that. Oh yeah, here's another thing. I had a question, you know, not too long ago, where somebody was saying that they were trying to eliminate, let me find something to point with. They were trying to eliminate the actual line that the profile bit made, but that's not really what you're trying to do. In fact, that's pretty much impossible to do, being as this profile bit cuts a very narrow line. If you were trying to eliminate that line altogether, you would be nicking the heck out of those outset letters, and that's obviously what you don't want to do. You want to stay away from that. So don't think that you have to eliminate that line that the profile bit makes, because honestly, I like it, and even when it's sprayed black, it doesn't show up very much, but I like the way it looks. All right, here we go. I'm going to do this one over here. So you can see there again, I just tried to make the circular motions large enough that I wouldn't end up, that it would take away any high spots that might be there. Although that, I see I kind of missed that spot right there. So that's why you want a little, well, you can go back in with anything, honestly. I can use that for lack of not having my little carving tool. I normally have a little hand carving tool, but I don't see it. Anyway, so I'm just trying to keep my pattern large enough that it leaves me a nice texture back there, but not too small to the point where there's no texture at all. So, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sure there's something else that I'm leaving out. Let's see. No, I guess that's about it. Now, one thing that I do like to do is the reason I love this 90-degree bit so much is that when you get down deep enough, it makes that step in there. This step right here, which I really like. I just love the way that looks. We've been doing, you know, this kind of background. Dad actually developed it way back when, and I've been doing it for, I don't know, 50-something years, and I still never get tired of it. I just love the way that step looks back there. So that's the way the router bit is designed. The 90-degree bit is designed that if you go down deep enough, it will leave that step in there. Gosh, I think that is about it, guys. I think that is about pretty much is everything that I wanted to cover. I'm sure I'm leaving something out. It sure seems like I am, but it becomes so second nature to me because I've been doing it for so long. Now, one thing that Dad will do, that Dad really likes, is he'll even go deeper. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me, I can do that on here. I'm gonna give you an example. This is off the cuff. Vicky's looking at me like, this wasn't the plan. So I'm going to go off the cuff. One of the things that Dad really likes, and actually I like it too, I'm going to go deeper yet. And I'm going to make this line, this cloud, deeper than the actual depth of the cleanup itself, or the background itself. Let me see. I got to make sure I don't run out of flute. So I am right now, I'm sure I am, I'm way past 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, I'm probably 3/8 now. So let me show you what that looks like. Dad, again, like I say, this is Dad's favorite way to do background. And I like it too, but it takes a little bit longer because you have 2 different depth settings. So see the way that is, this is, yeah. So this is so deep that, and this is at a different level altogether. This was at 1/4 of an inch, and I think here I'm more like 3/8 of an inch. And it really is a cool look. And I do really like it. I think I like it better. I generally don't do it because it is 2 different depths. And I am just so used to trying to do things in a more of a production type system. Again, I really do like this, and this is what Dad really likes to do. He did this a lot on his country music signs when he was carving all the time back in the 70s and 80s. So that's something that you guys can play around with, and you can play around, you know, experiment, guys. Find out what works for you, what you really like. Just grab some wood and start playing and find out what kind of turns your crank, so to speak. So I'm hoping this was helpful, guys. I try to throw as much in here in detail about this. I want this to be my basic video that I send to people when they ask about details on doing my standard background. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I got a piece of sawdust in my eye. The wind's blowing a little bit. If you have any questions, as always, please don't Facebook me, don't Instagram. Send me a direct email, eric@makeawoodssign.com, and I'll answer all your questions. I try my best to do that. And if you need any supplies, the website is right up there. If you like this, please give us a thumbs up. Please share this video with anybody you think it might be useful for, and please give us like and subscribe, all that stuff. You know the drill. Anyway, guys, love you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.